I love the plastic tableware that they provide at the Dollar Tree, and we are going to be using these little serving bowls. I'm going to be stacking them all on top of each other to create a pumpkin shape. You pretty much can make a pumpkin out of almost anything, and that's the fun thing about fall crafts. So we're going to take these little bowls, and at their top rim we're going to glue them together with E6000 and hot glue, so that long-term, short-term hold keeps it together while the E6000 dries. This is going to keep it from falling apart and making it more sturdy. Once you've got two of them together at their rim, go ahead and stack the next bottom to bottom, and then keep going up to however tall you want your pumpkins to be. On one of them I did 3 stacked high, on the other I did 2 stacked high. So for the tallest one you're going to actually end up needing 6 bowls, and the other you'll need 4 bowls. Again, you can make them as tall as you want, and there are 12 that come in this little bowl pack from the Dollar Tree. I took it outside and I used my rustic orange spray paint, and I wanted to add some dimension to it so it didn't just look like bowls stacked on top of each other. So I'm going to come back in and dry brush on a lighter peachy colored orange, and I'm going to go back and forth with some rough brush strokes, and then also add in an orangey yellow tint pumpkin color. Once that has all dried, I went outside and found a twig in my backyard from some tree branches we cut down, and I'm just going to glue those onto the top. I added my first dollop of glue. I let that dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come back in with some reinforcement glue because we really want to make sure these are sticking on there well. And that glue is all going to get covered up because we're going to be using some of the Spanish moss that they have at the Dollar Tree. So add in a nice amount of glue, and then add on that moss, which is going to cover up all the glue, and it's just going to look so rustic, farmhouse chic for fall decor. I decided to come back in between those pumpkins and add in some more of the moss. I really liked how it made it look like pumpkins actually stacked on top of each other. And I did that for both of my stacks. You could skip this part. You don't have to do it. It's whatever you want to do to customize your own stacked pumpkins. Now at the top I decided to come in with a ticking stripe ribbon. I also get this from the Dollar Tree. On the taller one I made the ribbon much longer for the tails, and on the shorter one I made them shorter. These pumpkins were so quick and easy to make on a crafter's budget, and they have such a high impact because they're so tall and beautiful. I feel like adding the bows to the top really added that farmhouse charm to it. But again, if you don't want to add a bow, you don't have to. You could just leave it without it. And I also thought it would be kind of cute to put some buttons on it. But I often put a lot of buttons on a lot of my projects here, so I thought I would let this one just be without buttons this time. But the finished results are so beautiful and ready to put on any table in your home that will wow your guests. This DIY is so much fun to make, and I hope you all give it a try for the fall season. Start by picking up a metal round tin plate from your thrift stores. I got this one for 50 cents because I always get stuff that's half off at the thrift stores. Go ahead and remove the sticker from it and take it outside and spray paint it a beautiful pumpkin orange. Once that's dried and set aside, we're going to take some drop cloth. I just pick mine up from the local home improvement stores. I get a huge pack of it, and it's super affordable. I think mine's like $9. My drop cloth lasts forever, and I use it all the time here in my craft room, and it just has that beautiful farmhouse look to it. So go ahead and cut some little snips and then rip the fabric down to create some thinner strips. Now I'm going to be using this little toothbrush. Friends, this is one of my oldest craft tools. I think this thing is like 15, 16 years old. It's from a dentist appointment I took my oldest son to when he was a little boy. It's a kid's toothbrush. I love using it for speckling on paint because I wanted to get that nutmeg look that you see on a pie, a pumpkin pie, when you see it come out of the oven. So I went ahead and sprinkled some of that on, and now I'm going to start gluing on some of those strips that we ripped up earlier from the drop cloth. Cut it down to size, add a line of glue, and then just tap that right into place. We are now working on the top crust for our pie, and you can honestly do whatever pattern you want, but I loved this crisscross pattern on the top of my pumpkin pie design here. And now this is where it really comes to life. With a thicker strip of fabric, I think mine was probably about 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick, I'm going to lay some glue down, and then as I'm putting on that fabric, I'm going to pinch it like you would pie crust around the pie tin. And you're just going to go all the way around. And when you get to a point where you run out of fabric, because the strip's not long enough, you just simply put down more glue, line it up, and keep going. So I'm going to go all the way around the whole pie tin. And it is so adorable at this point. But then I thought, you know what? I want to be able to hang this up on my pantry door in my kitchen. And I remembered that the Dollar Tree right now has out these darling rolling pin signs. I ran and got it out of my craft closet that I was holding on to. And I put this right on the front of the sign with some E6000 and some hot glue. So it's really bound on there well. Hello, pumpkin. Isn't that so darling? Now at this point, I'm going to take my crocodile, punch a couple of holes at the top so I can hang it up on my pantry door. And I'm just going to simply take one of these beaded wreaths that they have at the Dollar Tree. I cut it in half so that I can get it smaller for my sign. I'm going to bring it around, twist that wire in place, and then to really just clean up that look, I'm going to bring it back around to the front, glue down that pie crust we did earlier with the drop cloth. And at this point, we could stop here, but Heidi loves a good bow. I have never met a bow that I did not like. So I doubled up a couple different bows. I'm adding on a cute little button in the middle, and it's ready for my kitchen. Our supplies are going to be 2 of these garden hang baskets. They had these out around springtime, and I bought a whole bunch of them knowing that this could be turned into a pumpkin. I was so excited to figure this out because I haven't really seen anybody do this. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen anybody use these to turn this into a pumpkin. It is the easiest DIY ever. You're going to just take off the wire chains, and then you're going to line up the lines on the baskets, and then with some zip ties from the Dollar Tree, you're just going to zip tie every single joint where the bars line up. Then you're going to take your scissors and you are going to snip off the rest of the zip tie, and make sure you take the part that has that little square on the end where it fastens all together, twist that inward so you don't see it sticking out. Once you've got that done, go ahead and take a jar lid that they have at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just use some E6000 so that this stays together nice and tight, because this is going to become the top of our little pumpkin, so we can go ahead and add a stem to it and decorate it however you would like, honestly. Then you're going to take some hot glue on the inside and just glue that in place. Now this tool, I'm going to be showing it a little bit later on. I've showed it here before on my channel. It's called a crocodile. It's used for scrapbooking and fastening on eyelets. I love this tool, but you can see that I used it because it's able to punch through metal like nothing. I mean, it is like using a hole puncher going through paper. So I went ahead and punched 2 holes so I could take some more zip ties and then fasten that to the top without having to worry about it coming off later. Then I took it outside and spray painted a really pretty fun orange color. You could do this whatever color you want for your pumpkin. And then I'm going to scrape off a little bit of the paint at the top because I want to make sure that it bonds well to the actual metal versus the paint. Over time that can peel away and break off really easy. So then I'm going to take one of these little wood stumps that they sell at the Dollar Tree in their floral section, glue that on, and then I'm going to take some of this greenery and staple it to the backside of that little log. And I did that because I didn't want to worry about these falling off over time, and stapling it on there is going to hold everything together nice and tight. I added some more hot glue, and then I'm coming in with this bead garland that you all know that I love here. I think it's so cute when it's coiled and it makes it look like a pumpkin vine, all curly and cute. Then once all that was in place, I added a bow, and you are ready to decorate your home. This project was so easy to make and so fun. I'm going to take one of these large tag wood signs. I'm going to be using this brand new beaded pumpkin that's so beautiful right now at the Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to be using a stencil. This one is from Studio R12. Go ahead and start by painting your tag whatever color you want. I went with a beautiful pumpkin orange. And on the back side, I'm going to go ahead and trace some fabric around with a pencil. And I'm going to just cut that all out and glue that to the back of my tag. I like a beautiful finished backside because then it just makes it look high-end and that you bought it from the store versus, you know, it was just something that was forgotten about and you move on quickly. Especially if you sell any crafts at trade shows, always remember to finish the backside. It's really going to help you in your sales in the long run. Now, I like to use a brayer whenever I'm working with hot glue because it really does smooth out that bump of hot glue in there. Now I'm going to come in with my stencil. Remember, when you're working with a stencil, it's so important to have the right brush. This is a rounded tip stencil brush. I will link my favorite brushes down below, and I will also make sure to link the stencil as well if you like the stencil. Now I like to take care of my stencils as I go, so I'm just cleaning it off in different sections because I want to use the stencil a little bit differently than how it was cut out and sent. So I'm going to just be shifting it around, and this is the fun thing about stencils, is that you really can customize what you want with it, and these are really affordable because you can use them time and time again. Once my stencil was all done and tried, farm fresh pumpkins hand-picked with the little arrow, I went ahead and started gluing on my beaded pumpkin. Now, the best way to glue this on is finding those metal ring jumps that are hooked together at the bottom of the pumpkin and underneath where the stem is. I added a lot of glue there, and that really held and locked it into place without having any issues. Now up at the top with that little hole, I'm going to just add some hot glue and cover it up with a cute button and a half wood round bead. Now I'm going to take my ink pad. I've talked about this a lot of times before. Sometimes I don't want to get paint back out again and dirty a brush. I love having a chestnut brown ink pad, and I just tap around the sides, and it really gives it that distressed look. For this project, we're going to be using a large 14-inch wired wreath form, this bag of apples that I picked up from Amazon, some fabric, this burlap ribbon, and then a whole bunch of green florals from the DT. Now I'm going to take that ribbon and I'm going to just coil it around that wreath form because this is going to allow me an easier way to be able to put on all of these picks that I'm taking apart to glue it onto something to have a nice sturdy base. You don't have to do this, but this is just another technique I thought that I would try and share with all of you, and I actually really liked it a lot. So I went ahead and just tucked underneath all of these wispy, which is always the first one I like to put down. I like to put down the most flowy, wispy looking greenery pick first because it really makes it look more natural to have those out at the very back of the wreath. And then I keep building out from there, going into the smallest things. So now I'm putting on, I think it was called Fall Grass. I think that's what this pick is called. I loved it because the majority of it is green and it goes into yellow at the very end. It's not an actual flower head that you could just like pop off. It's one big greenery pick. I loved it. So I wanted to make sure I got that on here too. And then now I'm going to come in with these berries. And I used the leaves as well because I always like to try to use all of the pick. And I put down the leaves and I glued them onto the ribbon to conceal the ribbon a little bit more. And now I'm coming in with the berries and I'm just tucking those and laying them as flat as I can, because these are a little bit tricky to work with sometimes. So just lay them down as flat as you can. And now I'm going to come in with another green pick. This one definitely has a more fall look to it. And I just love the colors contrast with the yellow and then the really bright, not fall green leaves. So now I'm going to take my apples. And at this point, I love how much we've built up all the greenery that it's ready for the apples. I'm going to go ahead and take a skewer stick and poke that into the apple because these have a sleek surface and over time they're just going to pop right off. So I went ahead and put a skewer stick in it and hot glued those all together, and then I'm going to add more hot glue to the stick and then put it into the wreath. This is going to allow it to really bond and adhere to all of the stuff on the wreath and the ribbon so that these apples don't pop off and fall. And then the very last thing, I decided to do a black and white gingham bow, and I think this turned out so beautiful for the fall. I cannot wait to hang it up. This DIY is super simple to recreate. We're going to use some rub-ons from the Dollar Tree, a foam square, a white bucket, and then these really darling florals for the fall. All of it's from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to start by removing the sticker from the bottom of the bucket, and then we're going to take this foam square from the Dollar Tree and we're going to cut it down to the size that we need. I like to use my scissors like this. This is the easiest way I always find to cut it. I know some of you say that you use large knives from your kitchen to be able to cut it, and that works too. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in my E6000 and hot glue. Now I went ahead and cut free all of my little stems off of these wheat florals because I wanted to make sure that I maximized the volume, and I like to think highest in the middle, lowest on the ends. So I just keep playing with it until I like the way it looks, and I give it a little haircut on parts that I don't like. And now I'm coming in with some hot glue and some of this moss, and I'm just tucking that down in there to really give it a beautiful fall look. And these buckets work so well with the rub-ons from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to cut out Farm Sweet Farm on it, and I'm going to just simply rub those on and then remove the covering on it once it's nice and stuck to the bucket. Give it a nice rub, and then I'm going to take my sanding block and just rough it up a little. For this project, we're going to go with a more Kirkland high-end style. We're going to take one of these 11 by 14 frames, 2 of these tiles. I painted the tiles both white, and now we're going to take apart that frame. Go ahead and remove the glass. I made this part a little bit brighter so you all can see that I'm painting it a chestnut brown, that black frame. Once that was dry, I set it to the side and I started working on the backer of the frame. Go ahead and cut down your tiles to fit the size of that backer, and then once you've got them cut to size, go ahead and use some hot glue. When you cut apart the sides of these tiles, the adhesive strip on the back will come off because it's only bound around the sides of that square. But that's perfectly fine because you just add some hot glue and it sticks on there beautifully. Now I'm going to come in with a very beautiful tan, kind of beige color, and we're going to bring forth that texture This technique I know is super popular here on YouTube, but we're going to turn this into something even more elevated than just this beautiful raised tin look. So go ahead and add some of that same distressing to your frame, and then pop that backing right into the frame and lock it into place. Once you've got that in place, this next part is where it really starts to elevate, and it makes me just think of like Kirkland home decor things that you would see in their store. Go ahead and use your hot glue to create a nice thick round rim of some hot glue, and I had my stuff all laid out ready to go so I could just plop that right into the hot glue where it doesn't start to dry or cool down. Go ahead and just create a beautiful wreath with some leaves. I'm now going to come in with some fall foliage, some leaves, some beautiful little wheat sprigs, and then I'm going to add on this gorgeous white sunflower that they have right now at the Dollar Tree. I added in some smaller ones, some more greenery. Basically keep playing with the foliage until you get it to where you love it. Now at this point we're going to add on a ticking stripe bow that I get from the Dollar Tree, and then as well as this wood sign that says blessed. I had so much fun making this. It's so high-end and it would look so gorgeous anywhere displayed in your home.